Hey Astro Kids, and welcome back. And this is my interpretation of what it looks like to have your natal moon in the nakshatra of Mula. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. So before we get into this, we first have to understand what the moon represents, and then we have to break down this nakshatra of Mula. And just a quick disclaimer that this is not according to Western tropical astrology. This will be according to Vedic astrology, which is using the sidereal zodiac. So if you're not familiar with what your sidereal moon sign is, there is a link to a calculator down below in the description so that you have the correct information. The moon is one of the most important grahas in Vedic astrology. The moon is representing your mind. Therefore, the moon represents everything that is happening within your life. The moon is a reflector. It is a projector. Everything that is in your mind becomes a manifestation within your physical reality. In the same way, you are perceiving everything that is happening within your reality. So the moon is projecting what is in your mind and is reflecting everything within your reality. The moon represents your body, your health, your vitality, how you are interacting with others. When people are coming across you and you are making connections, this is the personality that is coming forward. The moon represents your social standings, how you fit into society, how you're able to adapt and relate to others. The moon is also popularity and beauty. The moon is representing the mother, your connection to your mother, what kind of nurturing you need emotionally, what is making you feel emotionally satisfied. The moon is also representing all of the fluid in your body. So it is connected to your water intake. It is connected to your nourishment, all of your needs that need to be met. The moon is a very personal planet that has to do with your emotions, how you react, and how you are responding to situations around you. Mula is found from 0 degrees till 13 degrees 20 minutes of Sagittarius. So we are now officially in the sign of Sagittarius. And this is a huge transition point because we were just in the sign of Scorpio, which was at the end of our tamasic part of our zodiac. And now we have entered into the Sattvic zone, which is the path towards spirituality and enlightenment. So this is a huge shift in direction as we enter here into this nakshatra of Mula. Mula is actually within the Scorpio constellation, but is still falling under this sign of Sagittarius. So Mula is represented by the stars that are found within the tail end of the scorpion, the stinger. And so this is related to the cutting, to the destruction that is coming through this stinger, this poison, this sharp edge of the scorpion. Mula is known as the foundation star, and its name means the root. It is the innermost core. And Mula is actually very close to the galactic center. It's found within the center of our solar system, which is where a black hole is found. And so this energy of Mula is very much associated with this black hole, this mysterious energy that is sucking things inward, that is causing destruction at the center, at the root. All of this is connected to this nakshatra of Mula. The symbol of Mula is a bunch of roots tied together, and this is representing our karmas that are contained within us. Again, this has everything to do with the roots. So this is everything that is attached, that is within us deeply. This is connected to our ancestral connections, to our past life connections, to all of the karmas that are contained within us. This nakshatra of Mula is actually very much connected with the Akashic records, with the emerald tablets. It is containing the wisdom of the past, present, and future. So there is a deep spirituality that is found within this nakshatra of Mula. And this is ruled over by Naruti, which is the goddess of delusion and destruction. And while this nakshatra gets a negative connotation for being very destructive and can be on the lower end, this is actually representing the destruction of the illusion of the ego that is keeping us from moving towards this spiritual awakening. So this nakshatra has everything to do with getting to the truth, getting to the root of everything, understanding at a deeper level, which is taking us towards this higher spiritual path. It is the destruction of everything that is blinding us from the deeper truth. And so Mula is taking us into the depths. It is all about getting to the deeper understanding, reaching this state of higher consciousness. And this is, again, the first nakshatra that is falling under this Sattvic zone within our zodiac. So this is the beginning of the spiritual journey. This is the initial awakening. So there are some lower connections within this nakshatra where one is not quite fully in this state of spiritual evolution. This is where the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, the beginning stage of this path is started. And so in order to reach this spiritual enlightenment, there needs to be some kind of destruction, transformation that is occurring. So this is what this Mula Nakshatra is all about. This is the suffering, the transformation, the destruction that leads to this higher spiritual state of enlightenment. And this is a Ketu Nakshatra. So we talked before about how K2 has everything to do with our past lives, mysticism. It has everything to do with leading towards enlightenment, liberation, detachment from this material entanglement. So K2 is about going beyond. It is about getting to the truth, getting to the higher, the deeper understanding that is beyond this physical plane. And K2 is said to be exalted here in this nakshatra of Mula. So this is the height of K2's influence here in Mula, where this is all about this deep spiritual awareness, this digging to get to the truth. Very similar to our previous nakshatra of Jyeshta, which is where this is a huge transitional point between the Jyeshta and Mula Nakshatra, where we are at a Gandanta point. So the Gandanta points are found between the water signs and the fire signs. Within the last 3 degrees 20 minutes of Jyeshta into the first 3 degree 20 minutes of Mula is where this Gandanta zone is at its strongest. This huge transformation, this huge transition between that second part of our zodiac, which was all about the material world, the status, and now coming into this last part of our zodiac, which is about moving towards spiritual enlightenment. So there is this huge transitional point that is occurring that started in the sign of Scorpio in that Jyeshta Nakshatra, where Jyeshta was all about penetrating through the lies, through the illusions, finding the deeper truth, seeking out spiritual wisdom. And that theme continues and gets deeper here within this Mula Nakshatra. And so this is occurring within the sign of Sagittarius because this is the quest towards a higher understanding, a higher path. This symbol of Sagittarius is the centaur, which is the archer, which is aiming its arrow upward towards a higher path. This centaur is also half human, half horse. And so this is about the transition from this lower animalistic state to moving to something that is higher, that is more spiritual. This is where Mula is occurring here within the beginning part of Sagittarius, where it is all about getting rid of that Scorpio stinger, getting rid of those lower vibrations and moving into this state of higher consciousness. Mula is also symbolized by a lion's tail. And so this is, again, about getting to grips with the deepest part of our demons, the deepest part of this animal nature that exists within us. Mula is often a nakshatra that comes with a lot of trauma, a lot of suffering, especially for those who are operating at a lower frequency, a lower level of consciousness, who are going through a ton of suffering and difficulties within life. And the suffering is there to bring these individuals to a place of spiritual awakening. So this is a nakshatra that has everything to do with detachment, letting go. This bundle of roots that are tied together is where things get stuck, where they become immovable. So there is a tendency to get too attached within this nakshatra, especially in a space of lower consciousness. But this is about letting go, about forgiveness, about moving towards love, moving towards a higher state of consciousness. And so there's a huge lesson that is found here within this nakshatra of Mula that has everything to do with letting go, becoming detached. Those who are holding on tightly within this nakshatra often go through many losses in life. Holding on too tightly to things leads to actually losing and becoming completely detached from the things that you were trying to keep, that you were trying to hold on to. There are many moments of losses that are found here. These dramatic ups and downs of moving towards success and achievement and then losing the success and achievement that was given to you by becoming too attached, too obsessed in these things. So this has everything to do with letting go. There also is a tendency, again, to have difficulty with forgiving. So this is a nakshatra at a lower end that is all about this resentment, this deep emotional attachment of holding on to things so tightly, getting so wrapped up into these lower vibrations, and holding on to this deep hatred and resentment deep within the heart. And this causes a ton of pain and suffering. And this can cause pain towards others, but also this is a nakshatra that is known for being very self-destructive, for actually causing one's own misery and suffering by holding on to things that need to be released. And so this is a nakshatra that needs forgiveness, needs to be able to let go. The best part about this nakshatra is the ability to move towards higher consciousness. And so this is a nakshatra where one is evolving, is changing, is growing, is transforming through their experiences. And the more that you are moving towards a higher spiritual path, the easier this journey becomes, because this Mula nakshatra has everything to do with spirituality. Niruti is all about delusions, about this delusionment, being disconnected, seeing things that aren't there. And it is also about actually getting through those illusions, destroying those illusions, finding the deeper truth. And so this has everything to do with facing the darkness, facing the traumas, facing the difficulties, and overcoming this. And so these are individuals when they are willing to go within, when they are willing to look at themselves, to look at their trauma, to look at their fears. This is where the healing begins. And this takes the individual towards this level of higher awareness. So these are people who have strong healing abilities. But there is a need to face oneself. There's a need to not run away from these difficulties. This is a nakshatra where there definitely can be betrayal, there can be difficulties within relationships, because this is a nakshatra that it has a need for independence. There's a need, again, to go inward, to go into yourself. So this is not a nakshatra where you should be relying on others, where you should be leaning on others. This is a nakshatra where you have to face yourself. You have to focus on yourself. And this, again, is related to this being in the sign of Sagittarius. So for those who have their moon in Mula, and even those who have their ascendant in Mula, your first and fourth house are ruled by Jupiter. And that first house is you, while the fourth house is your happiness, your inner peace, your comfort, your security. It is connected to your home, your way of being nurtured. And so this is showing with the first house of self connected to this house of the fourth, where there's the home, the nourishment, the comfort, the peace, where you have to find your own inner peace. You have to nurture yourself. You have to care for yourself. You have to focus in on these areas of your life that you are avoiding, to focus on these toxic areas and to overcome this. And so there can be hugely enlightened souls that are born under this Mula Nakshatra when overcoming these difficulties and deep traumatic experiences. These are individuals who can be highly intuitive, extremely wise, filled with a ton of spiritual wisdom and understanding. These are people who go deeper than the average individuals, who go into the darkness, go into the unknown factors of life. There can be a deep interest in the mystical and occult knowledge, all sorts of deeper studies. This is a highly philosophical nakshatra. These are individuals who often are possessing a ton of energy as well. There's a lot of intense energy, similar to our Scorpio nakshatras. There's this deep emotion and energy that is contained within. And these are individuals who have to learn how to use their energy in the proper way. So there can be a tendency to lead towards destructive actions, brash actions within this Mula nakshatra. But if this energy is channeled correctly, this can be very much a positive energy that is coming from this. These are individuals who can be highly inspiring, motivating. You can see coaches, teachers, people who are sharing a ton of wisdom and deeper understanding with the world. These are natural healers who are born within this Mula nakshatra. You can see many people who are born under healing professions, doctors, herbologists, people who are working with all sorts of healing and mystical abilities that are found under this Mula nakshatra. There is a deep need to get to the truth, to find the deeper understanding. These are individuals who are not interested in anything surface level, superficial. These are people who are not interested in small talk, who are not interested in the trivial matters of life. These are people who want to go deeper, who want to dive into the deeper mysteries of life. And so there is incredible intelligence that is found within this nakshatra. These are people who are constantly diving into the unknown, constantly trying to get to the root of everything. There's a never-ending quest to understand everything at its basis, at its beginning, at its foundation. There is a huge connection to the past, to the roots of all of existence. These are people who want to understand the meaning behind life, who want to understand everything to its core. So again, this connection to the galactic center, to the roots, to getting deeper, to getting to the deepest point that can be reached is found here within this nakshatra. On the negative end, this energy can lead to addictions. It can lead to all of these obsessions and attachments, again, that can be found under this nakshatra. So there is a huge lesson, again, that is all about healing, that is about letting go, that is about moving towards love and moving towards a higher path. These are people who can experience deep sadness, who can experience betrayal, all sorts of difficulties in life. This is a nakshatra that also is associated with black magic and all sorts of attacks coming from others. So this is a nakshatra that can go through a ton of misery within their lives, and the answer to this misery is always going to be spirituality. Mula is a nakshatra that can sometimes struggle with finances, and this is especially true in the earlier part of their lives. There can be a feeling of never finding your footing, of never being able to achieve those financial goals that you have set out for yourself. Again, this has to do with this K2 influence that has everything to do with spirituality. However, remember that K2 is holding the flags of victory. It's what we have achieved already. It is our castle. And so these are people who actually can achieve great wealth and prosperity. The older they become, the more that they are able to mature and understand how to stabilize these areas of their finances. There is a strong need, again, that has to do with letting go of attachment. The more that you are letting go, that you are letting things flow and be as they are, the better that life becomes. The more blessings come in as you are not getting so obsessed and so hurt deeply by these attachments. These are people who often are called to take up great responsibility in life, and they can have a huge mission that is associated with this bundle of roots, this karmic backlog that is associated with Mula. Those who are born under Mula have come into this life to pay off their karmas, to fulfill this karma that has been unresolved from a previous life. So these are people who come with a huge mission to give, to sacrifice, to help, to make a difference in life. Again, very inspiring, very motivating people, very spiritual people who can make a huge impact on the collective. These are people who can reach fame, who can be very successful, very respected, and well known. However, there can be difficulties within their close connections. So sometimes those who are closest to Mula individuals are actually some of the most difficult people to be around, who are causing difficulties within their lives. There can be a lot of hurt and betrayal. There can be a lot of their loved ones being against them. And so these are people, again, who are called towards this path of independence, called towards this path of finding oneself, of believing in oneself, of taking this individual path in life. There's a need to be self sufficient. And in some cases, this is a nakshatra where individuals can be in situations where they have to be self sufficient from a young age, where they have to grow up very quickly. These are people who can achieve amazing feats within life. They hold a ton of potential within them, but there is a need, again, to believe in oneself. There can be deep-seated insecurities and fears that are found within this Mula Nakshatra, and this all has to be addressed. This all has to be dealt with. Going into that black hole, getting down to the roots, addressing all of those areas is hugely important under this Mula Nakshatra. As this is a Ketu ruled nakshatra and is falling in the house of Jupiter here in Sagittarius and the Mula Trikona home of Jupiter, this is insanely powerful in terms of the spiritual potential that is found here. Both Ketu and Jupiter are very spiritual grahas that are taking us towards this higher path. Jupiter is all about the wisdoms, the morals. It is all about these higher principles that we hold ourselves to, taking this higher path within life. And Jupiter is very expansive. It is opening us up to this wisdom, this experience in life. K2 is about liberating ourselves from the distraction, liberating ourselves from the material distraction, the illusion of this world, and diving deeper into the spirituality. So this combination of K2 and Jupiter together is extremely powerful in terms of the ability to reach spiritual enlightenment. Sometimes this is a nakshatra that is highly misunderstood, and these are individuals who can be very mysterious. These are people who can have a great love for isolation, for self-reflection, for going into deep meditation. There can be a reclusive nature to this nakshatra. And so these are people who can come across as very misunderstood by others. There can be very eccentric behavior that others don't understand. There can be deep wisdom that is taken as being insane or not having a clear understanding, when really there is a deeper understanding than most individuals that is found here in this Mula Nakshatra. So these are people who are all about going deeper. Sometimes there can be a tendency, again, to go through situations of great loss, and this can be surrounded by the reputation. There can be a tendency to lose one's status or reputation that they have gained, and this can come through a lot of criticism and misunderstandings from other people. So again, there's a strong need here to understand yourself. Before getting involved in any relationships or focusing on anything outside of yourself, you have to go inward to fully understand yourself, to face all parts of yourself, to accept yourself fully is a huge lesson that is found under this Mula Nakshatra. Due to issues with close loved ones that often happens within this Mula Nakshatra, there can be a tendency to move away from family. So these are people who can travel to foreign places or can move away to faraway places to go on their own. And again, this is a huge lesson that is found under this nakshatra of moving inward, of finding yourself, finding your truth. There's a strong need for self acceptance and a strong need to set proper boundaries with others. There can be a tendency to trust in the wrong people under this nakshatra. There's a need to follow your inner guidance, your intuition, to fully trust in yourself and to not become deluded by distractions that are outside of yourself. So again, this is a nakshatra that is not about depending on other people. It is about finding your true worth, finding yourself, depending on your truth, your intuition, your path, your calling is very important under this Mula nakshatra. Due to the desire to dig deeper, these are individuals who can make excellent counselors, trauma counselors, psychologists, those who are into investigation, research, dealing with very sensitive information, hidden information. These are profoundly deep individuals who can get to the root of any problem, who can find the solution to any problem. And this is especially true when it comes to trauma, when it comes to past difficulties. These are excellent healers when it comes to dealing with these issues and situations. This can also have a connection to emergency medical situations. So you can see people working in surgery, working in all sorts of situations of crisis. These are people who often are drawn towards the darker side of life. So seeking, again, to dive deeper into the mysteries, to dive into the unknown, to understand everything at the root. This deep introspection and wisdom is found here. On the negative side, though, this can lead towards dark magic, towards getting involved in all sorts of spells and deeper dark information under this nakshatra, and even in some cases seeking out revenge or punishment towards others. So there's a need to move towards the light side, again, by letting go of all of this trauma, all of this difficulty that is deeply rooted within you. These are people who often are drawn to the information that goes beyond this physical plane, that is all about our DNA, that is all about our existence, that is all about the greater mysteries of moving towards the divine, of understanding the inner workings of our nature, understanding the universe that exists within us. So again, this is all about getting down to the root, getting down to the deeper understanding. And there's a high level awareness that God is found within us, that the divine is found within us, that the spiritual, all of this is existing deep within us. So getting to the root of human nature, understanding everything that exists beyond the physical is a huge thing within this Mula nakshatra. This bundle of roots is related to the DNA. It's related to the roots, the binding of our ancestors, of the binding of everything in this universe. Those born under Mula can make excellent astrologers, as Vedic astrology is all about how everything is intertwined, how everything is working together within the universe. Now, Mula is also associated with another deity of Kali, and Kali is the one who is responsible for destroying the illusions of the ego. It is all about self-realization. It is all about this deep wisdom and understanding of the universe. So along with Naruti, which is about destroying things, breaking things apart, we have this connection with Kali. This is also a nakshatra that's associated with Lord Ganesh, which is actually connected with Ketu. Ketu is Lord Ganesh. So this is this strong connection to endings and beginnings. We must destroy and break apart, let go of things that no longer serve us in order to usher in this new beginning. And so the destruction that is found under this Mula nakshatra, again, is often given a negative connotation, but it is actually needed. It is needed to destroy, to dissolve things in order to step into the brand new, to let go, to move on. So this is a huge thing that is related with this Mula nakshatra. Naruti is also associated with abundance and prosperity. It is associated with procreation. So, again, these are individuals who are not always going to experience something negative in life. There are ups and downs. There's great transformation that is occurring within this nakshatra, where there can be great achievement, great success, great prosperity that is coming through this. This can also be a nakshatra that is very blessed in terms of receiving this deep divine wisdom and guidance, this deeper understanding, and there can be a great quest to find this divine guidance through a teacher or through going inward. Mula is related to the Muladhara Sena, which is the root chakra within our body, which is associated with security. It is associated with stability. So again, this nakshatra is about getting to the roots, and it is the beginning of this spiritual journey, as we have to start with the root chakra in order to activate our chakras within our body. It is a journey of going through from the root upward. So everything grows from this root. The deeper that an individual goes to understanding their roots, to understanding their trauma, understanding their problems, finding this security, the stability within yourself, the more that you're going to grow, the more that you're going to reach these spiritual heights. These are people who often are very fixed in their opinions and ideas, very difficult to change their mind. They are all about sticking to their intuition, sticking to their truth. And so this can sometimes come across as arrogant, as aggressive in terms of how they are expressing their beliefs and opinions. However, these are people who are very caring, who have a very gentle heart at the root of all of this. So these are people who have very good intentions. Again, there's a misunderstanding of how they are coming across to others. They can be perceived as insane, as people who have a misunderstanding of the truth, but they are seeing the truth that is veiled from the rest of society. These are people who often are opposing others, who are getting into debates with others as they are standing by their truth, standing by their beliefs. And these are people who make excellent leaders. They can be the leader of a spiritual group. They can have a deep wisdom that they share with others. These are people who often are very inquisitive, always seeking more and more. Again, this deep awareness, this deep understanding of diving to the depths of everything. Very much related to our last nakshatra of Jyeshta, but this goes even deeper to understanding the truth of existence itself. These are people who, again, can go through reversals, who can go through ups and downs. So there can be these moments of reaching great fortune and losing it. But these are people who often are born for success. And so this is something where you should not let these losses discourage you. This is teaching you about detaching, about forgiving, about letting go, which has everything to do with this spirituality. Another symbol of this nakshatra is an elephant goad, and this has everything to do with conquering, with defeating. This is a weapon that was used to tame elephants. So this has to do with battle. It has to do with conquering, overcoming things, taking control of things, which again has to do with these deep-rooted issues within Mula. Being able to conquer and overcome your demons gives you this great spiritual awareness that brings in this flow of success and abundance into your life. But staying and dwelling in that darkness will only cause more suffering and misery. One of the strongest qualities of this Mula Nakshatra is the ability to have the courage to take risk, to jump into the unknown. And so these are people, again, who often achieve great success because of this ability to just jump into situations without overthinking it. This is a nakshatra that exists in opposition with Gemini, and specifically this nakshatra is opposite to the nakshatra of Ardra, where we saw all of this over intellectualizing, all of this worrying and getting stuck into thoughts, getting stuck into the mind over in that Ardra Nakshatra, where there was this combination of this Rahu Mercury energy, where the mind never stopped in analyzing and over analyzing more and more information. Here in Mula, there is a tendency to not get into the mind, but to get into the heart space, to get into the intuition. These are people who have an ability to just go with the flow, to just trust in their intuition and inner knowing. And this gives a great ability to succeed. This is especially true for those who are on a spiritual journey. Again, on the lower end of this nakshatra, there's a tendency to be fearful and to hold on to attachments, which stops these individuals from achieving this great progress. So there's a need to let go, to address all of these problems and to move on. And this is where your success will come from. Because K2 is associated with dogs, one of the remedies of this nakshatra is to have a black dog, to care for a black dog. And these are people, again, who can have meditation, who can have spiritual experiences, and this will give them this higher awareness. These are people, when they forgive, when they let go, when they allow love into their hearts, that these are people who can see their suffering begin to dissolve. These are people who can practice the mantra of Ganesh, the mantra of this nakshatra, the Bij mantra. So these are people who often are going to succeed when they introduce spirituality and healing into their lives. This is a nakshatra that can be very positive when an individual realizes the lesson of this nakshatra, which is all to do with, again, letting go and moving towards this higher path. Now, each nakshatra has 4 quarters or 4 padas. So we can take this 13-degree, 20-minute nakshatra and break it up into 4 quarters, 3-degree, 20-minute sections. So the first pada is falling under an Aries Navamsa, and this is found from 0 degrees till 3 degrees, 20 minutes of Sagittarius. These are individuals who often are very optimistic, who are filled with courage, very active people. They can be interested in sports. They can be very adventurous people who are very courageous and filled with determination. These are people who are often very intellectual, and they can also collect a ton of spiritual wisdom and understanding. They can do very well in education. These are people also who can be very inspiring. They can make coaches, teachers, motivators. These are people who are able to share their wisdom with others. And they are risk takers. They are unafraid to jump into an unknown experience. Sometimes their energy and intensity can come across as being arrogant and aggressive. But again, these are people who always have good intentions. Those who are born under the second quarter are falling under a Taurus Navamsa. This is from 3 degrees 20 minutes till 6 degrees 40 minutes of Sagittarius. And these are people who often can go through a lot of struggles and difficulties within their lives. These are people who can go through divorce, separation, arguments, legal disputes. There can be all sorts of difficulties all throughout their lives. These are people who are very service oriented, who are all about helping others. And they have excellent problem solving skills. They can be very strategic in overcoming obstacles and difficulties. But sometimes there can be a pessimistic view towards life. And so there's a need to get over the difficulties, to get over the negativities that they can get their mind attached into. These are people who can make excellent healers, doctors, people who can make excellent surgeons. They also can be individuals who are in the military. So there is a strong ability to overcome the obstacles of life, to deal with situations of crisis, of difficulties. Those who are born within the third quarter of Mula are falling under a Gemini Navamsa, and this is from 6 degrees 40 minutes till 10 degrees of Sagittarius. These are people who can run into issues within marriage and relationships. There can sometimes be delayed marriage that is found under this third quarter, where marriage doesn't come until later in life. These are people who also can have issues with others in their reputation, in their connection with their boss, any kind of situation where they're in the public, there can sometimes be opposition from others. There's a need to believe in oneself under this third quarter and to not get so obsessed with the criticism and opposition that's coming from society. These are people who can be very unconventional, who can be very clever in their approach to life, who often have an interest in the occult and the mystical and things like astrology, tarot. These are people who also can be excellent in mathematics, so they can make excellent accountants. They can do very well in computer scientists. These are people who can be very impulsive also. And due to this falling within the seventh house of the horoscope, with Gemini being on the opposition of Sagittarius, these are people who can be very lustful, who can be very quick to fall into relationships. So there's a need to use discernment when approaching relationships. Those who are born under the fourth quarter of Mula are falling under a Cancer Navamsa. These are people who go through the most challenges in life. There's a deep psychological difficulty that is found under this fourth quarter. These are people who can go through dramatic ups and downs all throughout their lives. They go through incredible transformations and experience very strong tragedies and difficulties all throughout their lives. These are people who are very spiritual, who are very deep in their intelligence and their understanding of everything in existence. They can be highly intuitive. Psychics, mystics can be found under this fourth quarter. People who are interested in psychology, interested in dissecting the meaning out of everything in life. These are excellent healers also. Very good at dealing with crisis situations, good at healing and working with trauma patients under this fourth quarter. These are individuals who also can have insecurities over their finances. So there can be ups and downs in the finance, but these are people who also can attract a lot of wealth into their lives. They're very focused on their security, their stability, and how they are going to keep those finances stable. These are people who often can overcome the issues of life through spirituality. This is very strong, where when one is moving towards a spiritual path, they instantly are able to overcome the difficulties. This changes their whole mindset and perspective. So profound transformation can be found under this fourth quarter. These also can make excellent scientists, researchers, investigators, all into digging into the mysteries of life.